Welcome to the Numis Hunter, and get ready because today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting. A story that has shocked collectors, stunned experts, and ignited massive curiosity around the world. And that is the tale of the 1984 D quarter dollar that some claim could reach a staggering value of $35 million due to its extremely rare and extraordinary mint errors. A coin that appears ordinary at first glance, but hides a series of mistakes, anomalies, and production flaws so unusual that they elevate it into the realm of legendary numismatic treasure, making people wonder how something so small and common could suddenly become one of the most valuable pieces of metal ever created by the United States Mint. So today we are going to explore every possibility, every error, and every mysterious detail that could make this coin worth such an astronomical amount. And as we move forward, you will see how a combination of minting mistakes, die deterioration, misstrikes, double impressions, planchet flaws, and unexpected anomalies all contribute to the unbelievable potential value of this fascinating coin that continues to capture the imagination of collectors everywhere. Because when it comes to rare coins, the magic is always in the mistakes. And the 1984 D quarter is a perfect example of how something that was meant to be produced perfectly can become iconic due to its imperfections. Now imagine holding a coin from 1984 that looks like any other 25-cent piece, but when examined closely reveals subtle irregularities that hint at something much bigger. Something far more valuable than anyone could have guessed, starting with the possibility of a dramatic double die obverse, one of the most sought-after and visually striking errors in the world of coin collecting, where the design elements on the front of the coin can appear doubled because of misalignment or accidental shifting during the minting process. And if the 1984 D quarter features bold doubling on the date, the mint mark, the word liberty, or especially on George Washington's profile, then collectors would go wild because such dramatic doubling combined with perfect preservation could easily skyrocket the coin's value into the millions. And then there's the possibility of a major reverse error, such as doubling on the eagle's wings, the arrows, the lettering, or a rotated die where the front and back of the coin are misaligned by a significant degree. Something like a 90-degree or 180-degree rotation, which is extremely rare and can instantly multiply a coin's value many times, especially when the error is on a coin from a year like 1984, where major documented mint errors are not very common, increasing the rarity even more. And as collectors know, rarity plus error plus desirability is the perfect formula for value. And then we must consider the possibility of a wrong-planchet strike, where the quarter was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a smaller or larger denomination, for example, a nickel planchet, a dime planchet, or even a foreign coin planchet accidentally processed through the Denver Mint's machinery, which would result in incorrect weight, different metal composition, or unusual rim appearance, making such a piece incredibly desirable. Because wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and expensive mint errors ever discovered, sometimes selling for hundreds of thousands on their own. And if such an error occurred on a 1984 D quarter with additional errors stacked on top, the value could rise to unimaginable levels, creating the type of phenomenon that gets collectors talking for decades. And we cannot ignore the possibility of a broad strike where the coin expands beyond its usual shape, or an off-center strike where the design is shifted drastically to one side, especially if it is off-center by 50% or more while still showing the date, because coins that feature both the date and massive off-center misalignment are among the most valuable mint errors known, often trading for huge amounts due to their rarity and the dramatic appearance that proves they escaped quality control. And if this particular 1984 D quarter had a combination of off-center strike, double die features, and planchet anomalies all at once, it would create a perfect storm of rarity that could potentially justify extremely high valuations, and collectors would be willing to pay unbelievable prices for such a one-of-a-kind piece. And another possibility is a die cap error where the coin sticks to the die and repeatedly strikes other planchets, leading to an unusual, distorted, cup-shaped, or expanded form that experts consider among the most visually stunning mint errors ever discovered. And coins like that have reached six figures effortlessly. So imagine if a die cap formed on a 1984 D quarter, combined with other pre-existing errors, or struck on the wrong metal, the value could escalate beyond anything anyone has seen before. And let's not forget die deterioration where cracks, cuds, breaks, and chips appear on the coin as the die wears out, creating raised lines, missing metal areas, or blobs that distort the design. And if these appear in major locations like Washington's head, the eagle's wings, or the lettering, they become highly desirable to collectors because dramatic die breaks signal a limited run of coins struck during the final moments before the die was replaced, meaning there are fewer surviving pieces and therefore greater rarity. And then there's the fascinating possibility of a transitional metal composition error, something so rare it could change coin history. For example, if a leftover planchet mint for a different year's composition somehow ended up being struck in 1984, which has happened before with famous transitional errors like the 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent. And such coins have achieved legendary status because they are believed to exist in extremely small numbers, sometimes only one or two in the entire world. And if the 1984 D quarter shows unexpected metal composition readings, unusual color tone, weight discrepancies, or XRF results showing improper alloy mixture, such a discovery could push its value easily into multi-million-dollar territory, which is why collectors dream about finding one. And on top of all these possibilities, we must also consider that sometimes a coin becomes valuable simply because of its uniqueness, meaning that even if only one example exists in the entire world, it becomes priceless, and the combination of extremely rare mint errors all occurring on a single coin creates the kind of numismatic miracle that people talk about for generations. And this is why the legend of the 1984 D quarter thought to be worth $35 million continues to fascinate so many people. Because the idea that a common quarter could hide such extraordinary secrets makes everyone want to check their pocket change, their old coin jars, and their forgotten coin rolls, wondering if they too might be holding a piece of history that could change their life. And that is the beauty of coin collecting, because any ordinary day could become extraordinary with a single discovery. And the 1984 D quarter, with its potential errors and mistakes, represents the perfect example of how unexpected, rare, and breathtaking the world of numismatics can truly be. Next, 1965 quarter dollar, a coin that appears completely ordinary on the surface, yet has shocked experts around the world due to a combination of mysterious mint errors, dramatic mistakes, and unexplained anomalies that make certain examples capable of reaching an astonishing value of up to $21 million. And as you listen, you will discover how one single year, one single design, and one single unexpected minting process created a perfect storm that turned this common American quarter into a legendary numismatic treasure. So buckle up, because we are about to explore every hidden detail, every unusual possibility, and every rare error that could make a 1965 quarter worth millions. Beginning with the fact that 1965 was a historic and chaotic transition year for the United States Mint. A year when the mint stopped using 90% silver for quarters and switched to clad copper-nickel composition. And because of this major shift, confusion, overlapping production runs, leftover planchets, and mismatched dies all created an environment where rare and extraordinary errors could slip through undetected. And these transitional conditions created the foundation for the most valuable type of 1965 quarter ever discovered, the ultra-rare 1965 silver planchet error, where a handful of quarters from that year were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets meant for 1964 quarters. And these silver transitional errors are so rare and mysterious that only a few are known to exist. And even though some have sold for tens of thousands in the past, the idea of discovering an absolutely perfect, never circulated, high-grade 1965 silver transitional error with additional mistakes layered on top could easily push the value into the multi-million-dollar range, possibly even reaching the unbelievable figure of $21 million, especially if that coin also contains secondary errors that further boost its rarity, desirability, and historical significance. And this is where things get even more interesting because the potential errors on a 1965 quarter go far beyond the composition alone, starting with one of the most exciting possibilities in coin collecting, the double die strike, where the design elements such as the date, lettering, motto, or profile appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. And if a 1965 quarter shows dramatic doubling on key areas like In God We Trust, Liberty, or the portrait of George Washington, collectors would immediately recognize it as a once-in-a-lifetime error. And combining strong doubling with a silver transitional planchet would create a rare masterpiece that could drive bidding wars into astronomical territory. And then we have misstrikes, such as off-center errors where the design is shifted significantly, especially if it is more than 50% off-center while still showing the date. Something that instantly multiplies value because an off-center strike with the date visible is extremely rare and highly desirable. And if it happened on a year as historically important as 1965, where errors were more likely due to the mint's hectic production changes, the value skyrockets even further. And imagine a 1965 quarter struck off-center on a silver planchet with doubling on top. A combination so unheard of that its uniqueness alone could justify a valuation reaching the tens of millions. And we cannot overlook the possibility of a wrong planchet error, where a 1965 quarter might have been struck on a planchet mint for a foreign coin or a different U.S. denomination, such as a dime or a nickel, which would result in incorrect weight, unusual thickness, unexpected coloration, or a different metal composition than expected. And such errors are among the most dramatic discoveries in numismatics because they clearly show a moment where the mint's machinery processed something it was never meant to, and collectors go absolutely wild for wrong planchet strikes, especially when they occur in transitional years like 1965, because the combination of confusion, leftover metals, and mixed equipment created the perfect environment for strange and valuable errors to occur. And then there's the extremely rare and visually stunning broad strike error, where the coin expands outward without forming the usual rim because it was struck outside the retaining collar, resulting in an oversized stretched coin with soft edges, something that collectors love because broad strikes are highly noticeable and unusual. And if this happened on a silver transitional 1965 quarter, it would only increase the rarity and value even more. And then we must consider the possibility of a rotated die error where the front and back of the coin are misaligned, for example, rotated 90 degrees or even a full 180 degrees. And rotated die errors are incredibly rare on quarters. And when they occur on important transitional years, they can generate enormous demand. And imagine a 1965 quarter with a rotated die and silver composition. Such a combination would be almost mythical in rarity, potentially making the coin priceless. And another dramatic possibility is a double strike or multiple strike error where the coin was struck more than once, either in the collar or out of it, creating overlapping designs, visible shifting, or ghost impressions. And these types of errors are extremely valuable because they visually prove the chaos that occurred during production. And in the busy environment of the 1965 transition, double strikes were more likely to happen, especially when the mint was rushing to produce clad quarters to replace silver ones. And this kind of rushing often leads to mistakes slipping through, creating rare treasures for collectors to find decades later. And one of the most mysterious and exciting possibilities is the die crack, die break, or cud error, where the mint die begins to deteriorate or break apart, leaving huge raised blobs or missing sections of design on the coin. And these dramatic breaks are highly collectible because they represent the final moments before the mint replaced the dying die, meaning only a tiny number of coins were struck in this condition, and such rarity can multiply the value enormously. And when combined with another major error, such as a silver planchet or off-center strike, it can push the coin into the realm of legendary status. And then we have one of the rarest and most dramatic errors possible. The die cap error, where a coin becomes stuck to the hammer die and repeatedly strikes multiple planchets, eventually forming a cup-shaped, distorted masterpiece that collectors prize above almost all other errors. And although a die-cap 1965 quarter would already be extremely rare by itself, if such a coin were struck on a silver transitional planchet or included doubling or misalignment, the rarity would become so extreme that experts could classify it as one of the most unique mint errors ever recorded. And any coin with that level of uniqueness can reach enormous valuations, sometimes beyond what anyone expects. And then there's the possibility of experimental planchets, mixed metal layers, or incorrect alloy mixtures that may have occurred during the transition from silver to clad, because 1965 was a year where the mint was experimenting with different compositions. And any coin showing unusual toning, weight irregularities, or unexpected metal composition could be considered a major discovery. And collectors and grading services always pay a premium for experimental or transitional anomalies, sometimes even declaring them national numismatic treasures. And when a coin reaches that status, it becomes priceless in the sense that no fixed market value can truly measure its significance. And that is how we arrive at the idea of a 1965 quarter being worth $21 million. Because if a single coin from that chaotic year contained a combination of the rarest possible errors, such as silver transitional composition, dramatic doubling, offset or strike, wrong planchet characteristics, die breaks, and other anomalies all in one piece, it would become a unique coin, a once-in-human history discovery, with no other example in existence. Next, 1992 D quarter dollar. A coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface, yet holds the potential to be worth up to an incredible $16 million due to a series of rare, dramatic, and highly unusual minting errors that transform an everyday piece of pocket change into a priceless discovery. And as we explore this together, you'll see how this unassuming coin from the Denver Mint has become the center of fascination, mystery, and excitement, driven by the possibility that it may contain a combination of errors so rare that only a single example might exist, making it the kind of numismatic treasure that collectors dream about, but almost never encounter. And we begin by understanding that the 1992 D quarter comes from a period when the United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of coins at high speed, and whenever the Mint increases production to meet demand, the chances of mistakes slipping through rise significantly, especially when dies become worn. Collars fail, planchets get mixed, or alignment issues occur under pressure, creating the perfect environment for unusual and valuable errors to form. And one of the most exciting possibilities for the 1992 D quarter is the existence of a dramatic double die error on the obverse, where the design elements such as Liberty, the date, the mint mark, or even Washington's profile show clear doubling caused by misalignment during the die creation process. And if the doubling is strong, crisp, and visible, without magnification, collectors will instantly identify it as one of the most desirable errors possible. And combining such doubling with perfect high-grade preservation could easily push the coin into million-dollar territory, especially if it is the only known example. But the potential errors don't stop there, because another major possibility lies in the reverse of the coin, or doubling on the lettering. The eagle's wings or the arrows could make the coin even more valuable. Since reverse double dies from the early 1990s are extremely rare and can generate enormous demand, especially in the case of a dramatic or widely spread doubling that shows obvious separation lines, making such an error not only visually stunning but historically important. And then there's the thrilling possibility of a wrong-planchet strike, one of the most valuable types of mint errors ever recorded, where the coin is accidentally struck on a planchet not meant for quarters, such as a dime, planchet, nickel planchet, or even foreign coin metal. And such errors cause the weight, thickness, color, and overall appearance of the coin to deviate from the norm, and coins like this have sold for staggering amounts on their own because they prove without doubt that a major minting accident occurred. And if a 1992D quarter was struck on a wrong planchet combined with doubling or off-center striking, the uniqueness could push the coin into the tens of millions, making it the type of discovery that causes bidding wars at major auctions. And another incredible possibility is the off-center strike error, where the design is shifted dramatically toward one side, leaving part of the planchet blank and part of the design incomplete, and off-center strikes of more than 50% with the date still visible are some of the most sought-after errors in all of coin collecting, because they are both visually dramatic and extremely rare. And if such an error occurred on a 1992D quarter with other anomalies layered on top, the combined rarity would make the coin one of the most extraordinary mint errors ever documented. And we must also consider broad strike errors, where the collar fails to hold the planchet during striking and causes the coin to expand outward, resulting in a wider, softer edge piece that looks clearly different from a normal quarter. And broad strikes are valuable on their own, but when combined with strong doubling, off-center impressions, or wrong planchet characteristics, they can become exceptionally rare. And if a broad strike 1992D quarter also contained transitional metal anomalies or unusual weighting due to improper planchet preparation, the value could increase exponentially, attracting collectors willing to pay astonishing amounts for such a unique piece. And another fascinating possibility is the rotated die error, where the obverse and reverse designs are misaligned, sometimes rotated 90 degrees or even fully inverted at 180 degrees, and rotated die errors are extremely rare and highly valued because they demonstrate a clear failure in the minting setup. And if this occurred on a 1992D quarter, especially a coin that also featured doubling or planchet errors, the rarity would rise dramatically, making the coin potentially worth millions. And then there's the possibility of multiple strike errors where the coin is struck more than once either inside or outside the collar, leaving overlapping images, ghost outlines, and shifted design elements. And these multi-strike errors are some of the most visually striking and valuable mint mistakes known because they create a piece unlike anything else. And when they occur on modern coins like the 1992D quarter, the rarity is even greater because modern minting technology typically catches and destroys such mistakes. So the survival of even a single example would be miraculous. And then we must look at die crack, die break, and cut errors where aging or damaged dies leave raised lines, blobs, missing design sections, or massive distortions on the coin. And dramatic cuts, especially those that cover large areas of the rim or lettering, are incredibly collectible. And if a 1992D quarter displayed an oversized cut combined with doubling or planchet anomalies, collectors would recognize it as a once-in-a-lifetime error that could easily justify multi-million-dollar valuations. And another possibility that could push the 1992D quarter into the realm of extreme value is a transitional composition error, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet with incorrect alloy mixture or unexpected metal layering, something that has happened in multiple years throughout U.S. mint history. And when a coin exhibits unusual weight, odd coloring, or unexpected metallic readings during analysis, it becomes a major numismatic discovery capable of achieving massive value. especially if no other example exists. And we cannot forget the experimental or pre-production planchet possibility, where the mint might have used a test planchet or early trial metal mix that accidentally entered normal production, creating a single surviving example with a composition unlike any regular 1992 quarter, and such a coin would instantly become priceless due to its unique production origin. And finally, we consider the most extraordinary scenario: a perfect storm of multiple rare errors stacking together on a single 1992D quarter, such as doubling on both sides, struck on a wrong planchet, off-center, featuring die cracks and struck during a transitional or experimental planchet production period. And if even one coin existed with this combination of mistakes, it would be classified as a one-of-a-kind numismatic masterpiece unlike anything else ever recorded. In the world of rare coins, when something is truly unique and unquestionably authentic, its value is limited only by the passion and determination of collectors who are willing to pay whatever it takes to own a piece of minting history that defies explanation. And that is how a 1992D quarter could reach an unbelievable value of $16 million. Not because it is made of precious metal or decorated with jewels, but because it carries the marks of a minting miracle, a collection of errors so rare and extraordinary that they elevate an ordinary coin into a treasure beyond imagination. And that is exactly why people search their pocket change in old jars, because you never know when an ordinary-looking quarter might turn out to be the most valuable coin you'll ever hold in your hands. Next, 1989D core dollar that some believe could reach an extraordinary value of up to $75 million due to a combination of rare mint errors, dramatic mistakes, and unimaginable anomalies that make this seemingly ordinary coin one of the most mysterious and potentially valuable pieces ever to leave the Denver Mint. And today we're going to explore every possibility, every type of error, and every scenario that could make this coin worth such a staggering amount. Because when you understand how minting equipment works, how dies clash, how planchets get mixed, and how unexpected production malfunctions create once-in-a-lifetime treasures, you'll start to realize why a simple quarter from 1989 could hide secrets that turn it into a fortune. And first, we start with the fact that the 1989D quarter was minted during a period when the United States Mint was pushing mass production to meet national demand. And whenever production speeds increase, the chances of mistakes slipping through multiply, whether through misaligned dies, worn equipment, damaged hubs, cracked dies, or mixed planchets that should never have been fed into quarter presses. And one of the most valuable possibilities is a dramatic double die obverse, where bold doubling appears on the date, mint mark, motto, lettering, or Washington's profile. And strong, clear doubling is among the most desirable errors in the entire world of coin collecting, especially if it is the only known example or part of an extremely limited run, because collectors love dramatic visual errors and will pay huge money for them. And imagine a 1989D quarter where the word liberty is doubled in a way that is visible to the naked eye, and in God We Trust shows split serifs, with the mint mark D appearing doubled as well, creating unmistakable proof of a major die creation malfunction. And if that same coin is found in near-perfect condition, untouched by circulation and preserved with full luster, it could instantly ascend into multi-million-dollar territory. And now imagine that same doubling being accompanied by a reverse double die, where the eagle's wings, arrows, talons, or lettering also show deep, clear doubling, something extremely rare for quarters of this era and highly sought after by collectors. And this combination of obverse and reverse doubling would be almost unheard of, making it the type of numismatic miracle that auction houses would fight fiercely to present. And then we move to one of the most dramatic possibilities, the rare wrong planchet strike, where a 1989D quarter may have been struck on a planchet mint for a different denomination, such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, and such wrong-planchet errors immediately become highly valuable because they alter weight, thickness, coloration, and diameter, making the coin a physical representation of a major mint blunder. And coins struck on dime planchets are especially valuable because the design gets compressed and incomplete, showing dramatic clipping around the edges, while strikes on foreign planchets may result in unusual metal composition or unexpected weight readings. And because the Denver Mint handled foreign coin production in various years, a wrong planchet entering the quarter press is not impossible. And a 1989 D quarter struck on such a planchet could be worth an enormous amount, even more if combined with double die features. And then we consider the possibility of an off-center strike where the design is drastically shifted, leaving blank space on the coin. And if the date remains visible despite the off-center shift, the value skyrockets because collectors prioritize date visibility, and an off-center strike of more than 50% is considered extremely rare and valuable. And stacking this on top of a wrong planchet or doubling error could elevate the coin into record-breaking value territory. And now imagine a broad strike error where the collar fails and the coin expands outward during striking, creating a flattened, wider quarter with soft edges. And if such a broad strike occurred on a unique planchet or alongside doubling and off-center alignment, the rarity would be unmatched, and such a combination might justify a valuation approaching the $75 million level, especially if the coin is authenticated as a one-of-one unique mint error. And another dramatic possibility involves rotated die errors, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 degrees or even a full 180 degrees, making Washington's portrait appear upright while the eagle is sideways or upside down. And rotated die errors are extremely rare and highly collectible because they demonstrate a clear mechanical failure that only a tiny number of coins ever escape with. And when this happens on a coin in superb condition, collectors pay extraordinary sums to own it. And stacking this error with doubling or wrong planchet strikes could create a coin so rare that its value becomes nearly impossible to estimate. And then we have multiple strike errors where a coin is struck 2 or more times, either inside or outside the collar, creating overlapping ghost images, distorted lettering, and doubled silhouettes that confuse and fascinate collectors. And these errors are extremely rare on modern coins due to strict minting controls. So, a 1989 D quarter with multiple strikes could become one of the most valuable modern error coins ever documented. And if this multiple strike occurred on a planchet already containing doubling or misalignment, the uniqueness of the coin would make it a priceless treasure. And then we explore the dramatic world of die cracks and die breaks where the die deteriorates, fractures, or collapses during production, leaving raised veins, blobs, or entire missing sections of design known as cuds. And large cuds, especially those covering major parts of the rim or lettering, are incredibly valuable because they indicate the die was moments away from failure and only a tiny number of coins were struck before it was removed. And combining a massive cud on a 1989 D quarter with doubling or off-center details could create an extreme rarity worth millions. And then there is the possibility of a saddle strike or die clash error where the dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of the reverse on the obverse or vice versa. And die clashes are highly collectible, especially when dramatic, and pairing a strong die clash with doubling or planchet errors would make the coin even more valuable. And then we must consider the remote yet thrilling possibility of experimental planchets or transitional metal mixtures, with a mint accidentally used a planchet with incorrect alloy composition or an early test mixture for future years. And unusual weight readings or unexpected coloration would alert experts to such an anomaly, and coins with experimental metals have reached legendary status in numismatics because they are often unique or exist in extremely small numbers, And a 1989D quarter struck in an unexpected metal could easily reach astronomical value, especially if it also contained visible striking errors. And finally, we consider the ultimate scenario. The perfect storm where multiple rare errors occur simultaneously on a single 1989D quarter, such as double dies on both sides, a wrong planchet, off-center strike, rotated die, die clash, and die cracks, all present at the same time, creating a coin so rare, so visually dramatic, and so historically important that it becomes a one-of-kind numismatic masterpiece unlike anything else ever discovered. And in the world of ultra-rare error coins, a unique piece like that doesn't follow ordinary price rules, because collectors will bid endlessly for a chance to own something no one else on Earth possesses. And that is how a 1989D quarter could reach an astonishing $75 million, not because it is made of precious metal, but because of the extraordinary minting accidents that transformed it into a once-in-history treasure, inspiring collectors everywhere to keep searching, because you never know when a simple quarter could turn out to be the rarest and most valuable coin of your life. Next, 1973 quarter dollar that some believe could reach an unimaginable value of $46 million because of the extraordinary mistakes, unusual minting anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime circumstances that make this coin one of the rarest and most desirable pieces ever whispered about in the collecting community. And as you join us in this deep dive, you will understand why this simple-looking coin, often overlooked and ignored, has become a powerful symbol of numismatic wonder and why collectors worldwide remain obsessed with tracking down even the slightest possibility of owning one example that carries these mythical errors. So sit back and immerse yourself as we unfold the strange, fascinating, and exhilarating aspects that make the 1973 quarter such a mind-blowing treasure. Because stories like this are exactly what bring excitement to the heart of every coin hunter who dreams of holding an impossible fortune in the palm of their hand. The speculation surrounding the extremely valuable 1973 quarter begins with the idea that in that year the United States Mint was going through various transitions and equipment adjustments, and because of these conditions, multiple types of errors became possible, ranging from double strikes, broad strikes, clip planchets, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, and even deeply dramatic die errors like double dies, die breaks, cuds, and severely misaligned dies that could transform a regular 25-cent piece into a one-of-a-kind rarity. And collectors strongly believe that a handful of these errors combined in extraordinary ways on a few coins, giving birth to the mythic multi-million-dollar specimens that experts still talk about today. Because when a coin shows not just one error, but multiple overlapping mistakes, its value skyrockets into territory no ordinary collector expects, creating perfect storm conditions where something worth cents becomes something worth millions. One of the most exciting possibilities is the idea of a 1973 quarter struck on a wrong planchet, an error where the metal blank used belonged to another denomination, such as a silver planchet left over from earlier years, or a foreign coin blank accidentally fed into the minting press. And when such accidents happen, the resulting coin becomes an ultra-rare anomaly because it contains characteristics completely different from a standard issue, such as different metal composition, unusual weight, different sound, different coloration, and a striking pattern that reveals the mismatch between die and blank. And collectors know that wrong planchet errors have historically reached extraordinary prices, sometimes hundreds of thousands. And when combined with the age, mystery, and limited number of surviving examples, it creates the potential for one of these 1973 wrong planchet quarters to reach the shocking $46 million figure that leaves the world stunned. Another factor contributing to the extreme value speculation is the possibility of a double die error on the obverse or reverse, a type of error where the design elements appear doubled because the die itself was improperly prepared. And if you imagine a 1973 quarter displaying a dramatic and strong double die on key features like Liberty's profile, the date, the motto, Washington's hair details, or the eagle's wings and tail feathers, you can imagine the frenzy this would cause among collectors who know that major double dies rank among the highest value errors in all U.S. coinage. And if a double die occurred on an already rare wrong-planchet strike, or a clip-planchet example, the combination would be so astronomically rare that no one could even predict its value, leading to the speculation that such a coin, if discovered in pristine condition, could be worth tens of millions. Then there is the possibility of mint state preservation, an aspect most people overlook, but numismatists know deeply influences value. Because if a rare error coin survives not in circulated, scratched, or worn condition, but in a brilliant, untouched, mint-fresh condition with sharp details, clean surfaces, and exceptional luster, its rarity multiplies dramatically. And when we imagine a 1973 quarter with a major error surviving in gem condition, untouched by pocket wear, circulation, stacking, damage, or oxidation, we see how such a coin instantly becomes a legendary treasure comparable to iconic million-dollar rarities from other eras, with collectors and auction houses ready to battle with unimaginable bids, pushing prices into territory never seen before. There are also theories that the 1973 quarter might exist in extremely limited numbers because most error coins were caught and destroyed by inspectors, meaning only one or two could have survived by pure accident, perhaps slipping unnoticed into a mint employee's paycheck, a vending machine bag, or a transportation box. And whenever a coin exists in a population of one, collectors begin to treat it as a priceless artifact, because its uniqueness makes it not just a collectible, but a historical treasure that cannot be replaced, duplicated, or rediscovered in large quantities. And with that level of rarity, even the slightest dramatic error could launch its value into tens of millions, especially if its discovery becomes a media sensation that captures global attention. Many collectors also imagine the thrilling possibility that some 1973 quarters may have been struck using experimental compositions or leftover silver blanks from the earlier era. Because although 1973 was well within the copper-nickel-clad era, accidental use of old or foreign blanks has been documented in many different years. And if a 1973 quarter was mistakenly struck on a 90% silver planchet or a foreign silver blank, the weight difference, edge difference, and sound difference would instantly give it mind-blowing rarity, because silver transitional errors are among the most valuable coins known today, and such an extraordinary piece could easily justify a multi-million valuation, especially if combined with doubling, missed strikes, or mint state quality. The emotional power of this coin story also drives its mythical value, because treasure hunters love the idea that a fortune could hide in plain sight, sitting quietly in an old drawer, dusty jar, inherited box, or even loose change from a store, and the idea that such a world record rarity could still be undiscovered today fuels collectors' passion and pushes demand for even minor 1973 errors upward. And when demand skyrockets, speculation grows. And when speculation grows, so does the perceived value, giving birth to astronomical numbers like the $46 million figure tied to the most extreme possible example. Every angle of the 1973 quarter story blends mystery, rarity, minting chaos, dramatic errors, extreme collector demand, and priceless uniqueness, forming a legendary narrative that continues to inspire coin enthusiasts worldwide. And as long as one dream remains alive that such a specimen could exist somewhere hidden away, the excitement and obsession surrounding the 1973 quarter will live on, reminding every collector that the next unbelievable discovery could be sitting right in their pocket, waiting to be found. Next, 1983 quarter dollar that collectors speculate could reach an astonishing value of $27 million because of the rare errors, dramatic mistakes, and extraordinary minting anomalies that experts believe may exist on a handful of surviving specimens, making this coin not just a piece of metal, but a symbol of unimaginable rarity and numismatic excitement that captures the imagination of treasure hunters everywhere. The 1983 quarter comes from a year already known for striking issues and unusual production problems at the United States Mint, because 1983 was a year when no official uncirculated mint sets were released, which means high-quality examples of coins from that year are already harder to find. And when scarcity combines with dramatic mint errors and unique production flaws, the resulting coins become some of the most sought-after pieces in the hobby. And this sets the stage for what collectors believe might be one of the rarest and most valuable error quarters ever imagined. A coin that could easily reach the mythical $27 million mark if the perfect storm of conditions is met. One of the most exciting possibilities that collectors talk about is the existence of a wrong-planchet error, with a 1983 quarter may have been struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, because the Denver Mint at that time was producing multiple coin types and foreign contracts. And when planchets get mixed, they can produce extraordinary minting errors that instantly become numismatic legends. And if a 1983 quarter were struck on a silver blank, a copper planchet, a nickel planchet, or a foreign coin blank, the weight, sound, luster, and appearance would be completely different from a normal clad quarter, and an error of this magnitude, combined with the rarity of 1983 mint quality coins, would create an item so valuable that collectors could fight with millions of dollars to secure it. Another incredible possibility involved dramatic double die errors, which occur when the design on the die is accidentally doubled during hubbing, leading to strong, visible doubling on the date, the mint mark, the lettering, the eagle's feathers, or Washington's profile. And major double die errors are among the most valuable mistakes in all of American coinage history, sometimes commanding 6- and 7-figure prices even without being tied to a rare year. So imagine a 1983 quarter with a bold double die affecting multiple design elements, especially if it is combined with a misaligned die, strike doubling, or a wrong planchet strike, because such a combination could produce a coin so unique that collectors would consider it priceless, pushing its value toward that mind-blowing $27 million level that fuels endless fascination. Another error that could elevate the coin's value dramatically is an off-center strike, especially one that is extreme yet still shows the full date and mint mark, because collectors absolutely love off-center errors that preserve key identifying details. And if a 1983 quarter exists with a 40 to 80% off-center strike, with sharply preserved features and brilliant mint state surfaces, the rarity would be off the charts, particularly because most off-center coins from high-speed production years suffer from quality issues or were caught and destroyed by mint inspectors, leaving only a tiny number that may have slipped into circulation by accident. The potential for a broad strike error also adds to the mystery, because broad strikes occur when the coin is struck without the collar that normally shapes its edges, causing the metal to spread outward and creating a wide, unusual, visually striking appearance that collectors immediately recognize as rare. And when combined with other errors such as die cracks, cuds, or die breaks, the result can become a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Collectors also speculate about the possibility of late-stage die breaks on 1983 quarters, where pieces of a die literally break off and leave large raised blobs of metal on the coin, often called cuds. And if a coin exists with a dramatic cud covering part of Washington's head or the eagle's wing, especially in a year with already limited high-grade examples, the value could skyrocket. The absence of 1983 mint sets also plays a crucial role in the speculation around this coin's potential $27 million value, because coins from that year were not preserved in large quantities by collectors, meaning most examples circulated heavily, became scratched, worn, damaged, or lost, and this makes any high-grade specimen, let alone a high-grade specimen with dramatic errors, almost impossibly rare. If a gem mint state or even a near-perfect error coin were to appear, grading agencies and auction houses would explode with attention, and the news would travel across the numismatic world instantly, creating a frenzy of demand and pushing bids into previously unimaginable numbers, especially if the coin combined multiple rare errors. Another factor driving the myth of the extremely valuable 1983D quarter is the possibility of experimental planchet compositions, because during the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was testing various metal alloys for different purposes, and although extremely rare, there have been cases where experimental or trial pieces accidentally entered circulation. And if a 1983D quarter were discovered made of an unusual alloy, slightly heavier or lighter than normal, or showing unexpected coloration or magnetic response, it would instantly become one of the most extraordinary discoveries in modern coin history, and its value could easily reach multi-million-dollar levels. There is also an emotional and psychological element to the legend of the 1983D quarter, because collectors love the idea that a life-changing treasure could still be hiding in plain sight, sitting unnoticed in a jar of change, tucked away in an old drawer, or resting in a forgotten box of coins from childhood. And the idea that such a coin could still be waiting to be discovered intensifies the excitement, fuels speculation, and drives the perceived value higher and higher, until figures like $27 million begin to seem almost believable for the most extreme, unique, and spectacular error example. Rarity, mystery, speculation, and the thrill of the hunt all come together to create the legend of the 1983D quarter dollar that could be worth a staggering $27 million. And as long as collectors continue to dream, to search, and to hope, the excitement surrounding this coin will live on, reminding every treasure hunter that the next unbelievable find could be just one coin away, waiting silently for the lucky person who happens to pick it up and realize they are holding a fortune disguised as everyday pocket change. Next, 1979D quarter dollar, a coin that collectors believe could reach an unbelievable $14 million if the right combination of rare errors, dramatic minting flaws, and extraordinary circumstances come together, creating a mythical piece that stands far above ordinary circulating quarters and becomes a legendary treasure in the world of coin hunting and numismatic history. The year 1979 was a time when the Denver Mint was producing coins at extremely high speed to meet national demand, and whenever production is pushed to its limits, the chances of extraordinary minting mistakes increase dramatically, because the more coins struck per minute, the greater the possibility that dies will wear out, break, misalign, or clash, and that planchets may be fed incorrectly or mixed with the wrong metal blanks. And all of these factors contribute to the excitement surrounding the 1979D quarter, a coin that could transform into a multi-million-dollar marvel if a rare and dramatic mint error were to surface in pristine condition. One of the most valuable and highly sought-after errors that collectors dream of is the wrong-planchet strike. And if a 1979D quarter was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a foreign coin or another United States denomination, such as a nickel, penny, dime, or even a half-dollar blank, the resulting coin would be worth an astonishing amount of money, because wrong-planchet errors instantly jump in value due to their rarity and dramatic difference in appearance. And a 1979D quarter, struck on a silver or experimental alloy blank, would become an unbelievable find that could ignite the numismatic world with excitement and push its value to that legendary $14 million range that collectors whisper about. Another thrilling possibility is the existence of a strong double die error on the 1979D quarter, because double die coins are among the most desirable and valuable mistakes in American coinage, often fetching enormous prices at auction when the doubling is bold, dramatic, and easily visible to the naked eye. And if a 1979 D quarter were discovered with clear doubling on the date, the mint mark, the word liberty, in God we trust, or the detailed features of the eagle on the reverse, the coin, would instantly skyrocket in rarity and value, especially if combined with other rarities such as late-stage die cracks, die chips, or die rotation that adds even more uniqueness to the piece. Collectors also speculate about the existence of extreme off-center strikes from 1979 because off-center errors are some of the most visually striking mistakes, especially when the coin is missing a large portion of the design but still shows the date and mint mark clearly. And if a 1979 D quarter exists with a 50, 60, or even 70% off-center strike in crisp, uncirculated condition, it would be a breathtaking example of mint error rarity, and because such pieces rarely survive. Outside collectors' hands, any newly discovered specimen could command astronomical prices, pushing its possible value into multi-million-dollar territory. Another dramatic and highly collectible error is the broad strike, which happens when a coin is struck without the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand outward and creating a larger, flattened coin with no reeded edge. And if a broad-struck 1979 D quarter includes additional anomalies such as die cracks, rim clips, rotated dies, or uneven strike pressure, it could become a highly desirable rarity with a value that far surpasses normal error coins, especially if it appears in mint state condition rather than heavily circulated form. Then there's the possibility of a coin struck through debris, cloth, wire, grease, or other foreign materials that accidentally enter the striking area, causing unusual impressions, missing details, distorted lettering, or mysterious depressions on the coin's surface. And these types of errors are highly collectible because each one is completely unique, making every struck-through coin a one-of-a-kind piece that can dramatically increase in value depending on how interesting and dramatic the strike-through looks. Another factor contributing to the legendary speculation around the 1979 D quarter is the potential for transitional errors or experimental planchets, because during the late 1970s and early 1980s the United States Mint was testing different materials for future coinage, and in rare cases experimental blanks were accidentally used in regular production, creating coins that differ in weight, color, metallic composition, or sound. And if even one 1979 D quarter exists with an unusual alloy, slightly off weight, or unexpected magnetic properties, it would instantly become a priceless rarity capable of reaching the astonishing multi-million-dollar valuation discussed among collectors. There is also an emotional and psychological element surrounding the fascination with a potentially $14 million 1979 D quarter, because people love the possibility that a life-changing piece of treasure could still be hiding in circulation, disguised as a normal quarter but secretly possessing a minting flaw so rare and so spectacular that its value would shatter records. And this excitement fuels the belief that somewhere, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, stored in an old coin jar, or sitting unnoticed in a collection inherited decades ago, there might be a 1979 D quarter containing a rare mint error that could turn an ordinary citizen into a millionaire overnight. The Denver Mint in 1979 also dealt with high-speed presses and heavy production cycles that increased the wear and tear on dies. And as dies wore down, they developed cracks, chips, breaks, and distortions that would show up on the coins as raised lines, blobs, or missing sections of design, and late-stage die breaks, especially large cuds that cover parts of Washington's head or the eagle's wings, are extremely collectible and can raise a coin's value significantly. And if a large dramatic cud were to appear on a 1979D quarter in mint state condition, it could become one of the most valuable errors of the decade. Another rare and valuable possibility is the existence of die clashes, which occur when the obverse and reverse die strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of the opposite design on each side of the coin. And strong die clashes can create surreal, dramatic appearances that collectors love. And if a 1979D quarter exists with unusually deep clash marks combined with rotation, doubling, or a broad strike, the resulting coin would be extraordinarily rare and potentially worth millions to the right collector. The legend of the $14 million 1979D quarter is fueled by a mixture of real minting possibilities, the excitement of rare error hunting, the scarcity of high-grade survivors, and the imagination of collectors who know that extraordinary treasures can appear when least expected. And while the exact coin that would command such a value has not yet surfaced, the possibility alone keeps the story alive and inspires thousands of people to check their pocket change every day. Because you never know when a rare off-center strike, double die, wrong planchet, broad strike, or spectacular die break might appear in your hand, waiting silently to change your life forever. Last, today we dive deep into the fascinating mystery of the 1985D quarter dollar, a coin that collectors speculate could reach a mind-blowing $7 million if discovered with the right combination of extremely rare minting mistakes, dramatic anomalies, and extraordinary production errors that occurred at the Denver Mint during that time, making this coin one of the most talked about and intriguing possibilities in modern numismatic discussion. And as always, we welcome you to this exciting journey as we uncover what exactly could make an ordinary-looking quarter transform into a once-in-a-lifetime, multi-million-dollar treasure. The 1985D quarter was produced during a period when the mint was operating at very high speed to keep up with increasing national demand. And whenever production ramps up, the chance of mistakes also increases because machinery is pushed to its limits. Dies wear out faster, planchets can be misfed, and misalignments become more likely, all of which create the perfect environment for dramatic mint errors that collectors dream of finding. And these conditions help fuel the possibility that an extraordinary 1985D quarter could exist with such extreme rarity and uniqueness that it could command a price tag as high as $7 million. One of the most valuable and thrilling error types that could elevate the value of a 1985D quarter to unimaginable heights is the wrong planchet strike, which happens when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. And because the Denver Mint was handling multiple types of coinage around that time, the possibility of planchet mix-ups becomes very real, meaning a 1985D quarter might exist struck on a nickel planchet, a penny planchet, a dime blank, or even a foreign metal disc. And such coins would weigh differently, sound different, and display unusual color or luster that instantly stands out to experienced collectors. And finding such an example would ignite the numismatic world with excitement and potentially push the value into multi-million-dollar territory. Another extremely valuable and highly sought-after error is the double die variety, where the die itself accidentally receives a doubled impression during the hubbing process, resulting in visible doubling on the letters, numbers, or design details of the coin. And if a 1985D quarter were discovered with strong, dramatic doubling on the date, the letter D mint mark, the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," or the details of the eagle's feathers on the reverse, collectors would instantly recognize it as a major error and its value would skyrocket because double die errors, especially in later decades, are rare and highly prized, and the stronger and clearer the doubling, the higher the value, making such a coin capable of reaching that legendary $7 million mark if combined with near-perfect condition. Another exciting possibility is the extreme off-center strike, where the design is accidentally struck far to one side because the planchet was not properly seated in the striking chamber. And although minor off-center errors are fairly common, extreme ones, especially those showing more than 50 or 60% off-center, while still preserving the full date and mint mark, are extremely rare and highly valuable. And if such a remarkable off-center 1985 D quarter exists in pristine condition, it could be worth an enormous amount, especially to collectors who love visually dramatic errors. Along with off-center strikes, broad strike errors are another possibility, occurring when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that gives it a uniform diameter, causing the metal to expand outward and form a wider, flatter coin with no reeded edge. And if a 1985 D quarter exists that was broad struck with additional anomalies such as die cracks, broken rims, rotated dies, or uneven strike pressure, the uniqueness of the error could create a coin worth millions, especially if it appears untouched by circulation and retains full luster from the mint. Another rare and collectible category of errors involves strike-throughs, which occur when a foreign object like cloth, wire, grease, metal shavings, or debris comes between the die and the planchet, leaving behind strange indentations, missing details, unusual textures, or mysterious shapes embedded into the coin's surface. And collectors love these because every struck-through error is completely unique. And a dramatic strike-through error from 1985 could attract massive attention, especially if the foreign material created a striking, unusual pattern or caused significant distortion of the design. Die break errors are another possibility, especially since the mint's high-speed production in the mid-1980s often caused dies to wear out faster than usual. And when pieces of the die cracked or broke off, they would leave raised lumps of metal on the coin called cuds, which are extremely collectible. And if a 1985 D quarter exists with a massive cud covering part of Washington's face or the Eagle's wings, especially in combination with another error like an off-center strike or a broad strike, the coin could become a multi-million-dollar rarity instantly. Another factor that strengthens the myth surrounding the 1985 D quarter is the potential for die clashes, which happen when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like outlines of the opposite design on each side of the coin. And dramatic die clashes are some of the most visually interesting errors in the hobby because they create almost mysterious shadows or duplicate images. And if such a die clash occurred on 1985 D quarter and the resulting coin survived in excellent condition, it could easily become one of the most coveted error coins of the decade. There is also speculation about the possibility of partial collar strikes, rim clips, multiple strikes, tilted planchet strikes, and die rotations, all of which can create extremely rare and visually impressive errors. And when two or more of these errors occur together on the same coin, the result is an ultra-rare, one-of-a-kind specimen that collectors will pay enormous amounts of money for, especially if it comes from a year like 1985, where high-grade examples of quarters are not overly common to begin with. Another factor contributing to the excitement around the 1985 D quarter's speculative $7 million value is the psychological thrill of the hunt, because people love the idea that a life-changing treasure could still be hiding in circulation, resting unnoticed in someone's spare change, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, hidden among old coins inherited from a family member, or sitting untouched in a jar that hasn't been opened in years. And the idea that such a coin could appear anywhere adds to the mystery and fuel behind the speculation. Additionally, the Denver Mint's fast production environment in 1985 mint dies were replaced frequently, recalibrated often, and pushed extremely hard, increasing the chances of minting anomalies that might not have been caught before the coins were released into circulation, and the existence of even one extraordinary, perfectly preserved error coin from that time could easily trigger a bidding war unlike anything seen before in the market for modern error quarters. The legend of the $7 million 1985 D quarter grows from a combination of real minting possibilities, collector fascination, the rarity of pristine error coins, and the hope that somewhere, hidden away and waiting to be discovered, a once-in-a-generation numismatic treasure still exists. And as long as people continue searching through their pocket change, coin rolls, and old collections, the dream of finding that extraordinary 1985 quarter will continue to inspire excitement, curiosity, and the belief that sometimes the most valuable treasures can appear in the most unexpected places, just one lucky discovery away from changing someone's life forever.